Today is July 6, 2026. These people with their scams are ridiculous. Absurd. You know, years ago, they laughed at me in front of the police and the FBI. They paid off a doctor to write up she was insane before. It's like, that's stupid. Mental insanity and mental illness is not curable. It's right on Google. It's a deep brain injury. You have to stay in a state psychiatric hospital. They get a hold of the courts. You have a right to an attorney to represent you. A judge has to find you incompetent or insane by this reason. You get a guardian, a social worker, placed on disability until you have that competency, and then all your rights are still intact. No one can take your rights away. 1867, the Personal Liberty Act went in, that a husband cannot pay a doctor off to institutionalize his wife, to steal everything, and to destroy her. It made it mandatory to have a competency hearing in front of a judge. 1867. These people think it's the 1800s, that they can pay off a dirty doctor to write up fraud. And be in it within a husband to destroy a wife. You can't do that. And the doctor would go to jail. And it's not curable. See, then I take care of people like this. I do home health care. And the basic generic ways of everybody would understand what these basic psychiatric disorders are. That people are given guardians and put on disability because they cannot function. Their brain's damaged. It's not curable. Okay? Okay? It's not curable. And because it's not curable, that's where the state psychiatric hospital, a state one, get a hold of courts. You have a right to attorney to represent you. It's the United States, not the Twilight Zone. You have to, it's mandatory since 1867, you have a competency hearing. Stand in front of a judge, and a judge has to explain it to you. Until you have that competency hearing, you're not found insane. Now, all right. Like I said, I take care of these kind of people. I work home health care. Schizophrenia. The word schizo is basically how they look at things. It's almost like these people. Maybe that's what they should claim when the FBI arrests them. Because they think they have like the rights to break laws. The absurdity of you have rights to do all these crazy things and you don't have any rights. Their whole process is outrageous. And so what they do is they give them medication to calm down the misfiring of the brain. So these crazy impulses aren't there. Now, bipolar is a total different brain dysfunction. It's highs and lows. That's why they call it bi. You're either happy, excited, going all the time, okay? And you're just not sleeping. You're on the go, highs, like you're almost on something. Then they crash. They are suicidal, depressed, can't get out of bed. And then they swing back. There's not a happy medium. That's why they call it bi. Because you're high or you're low. You're high or you're low. There's nothing medium. Okay, then there is narcissist. There's a lot of narcissists out there. They're just self-absorbed people. They don't care about anybody but themselves. Okay, psychopaths are people that do not feel sympathy, empathy, or remorse. They are narcissistic. They only care about themselves. But they don't care what they do to you. There's no human, what makes us human, of having compassion and empathy, they don't have it. They're like the born serial killers. They could go up and stab you in the heart with a knife and be mad they got blood on their hands. Everything is to profit them only. They don't care if they kill you, destroy you. They don't care about anything but themselves and how it profits them. And they don't feel any kind of remorse at all, or sympathy towards you, or empathy, because you're an object in their way. Now, these people could be schizophrenic psychopaths because they're crazy and they don't care what they do. Sociopaths, they are narcissistic people that only care about themselves. Then they're in like groups, gangs, cartels that they live in a lawless society. That all these crimes are okay, that we just do it, it's how we live. But if they kill you, they may feel a little bad. See what I mean? But they would think it's for the greater good of their gang. Get the idea? Then like sadist people are ones that actually find enjoyment in hurting you. Autistic people, they're nonverbal. They get very emotional, very upset, very frustrated because they cannot communicate. And so they lash out. Now, these people with these brain disorders, a lot of them, especially when it comes to narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths, or people that are schizophrenic, they can't honestly feel sorry for you. They can't really feel bad for you. The goodness and kindness that is in people that makes us human, it's not there. And these people, now I am a victim of medical fraud, and it is documented fraud. About a week ago, I had Carl in Louisville Stat Care. I heard the doctor walk through the door. I didn't notice when she walked before her legs are crooked. I looked up all those doctors from before. They are wrote up as fraud. Everything was fraud. Medical malpractice and medication errors. And I seen how bad she got on those medicine with the swelling, the heart attacks, the seizures, and her thyroid and adrenal gland shut down. There is no excuse they didn't pull her off all those medications. No wonder the other doctors thought she was dying. See, that's where investigators, after April 9th, 26th at my community health, where that African-American nurse, oh my Lord, the FBI was here picking up her medical records. And they were making fun of her, and they're da-da-da-da. The FBI don't make fun of victims. Like investigators showed up who those idiots give our medical records to. Officer Mark found or got them for us in 18. And everything's wrote up as fraud before. He even talked to those doctors. I know he did. I seen him in the office when I went in there with Dave. Him and the guys sitting in a room. And that doctor sat in front of Dave. So they'd hear that all the doctors from before were fraud. And wrote up as fraud and medication errors. So they're claiming they paid somebody else to write up more fraud. They go to jail. They'd be stupid to open their mouth. It's not curable. And see, yesterday I went to church with someone. I had to take them to church. And there was idiots in there, 21. Okay, we're going to put it this way. In 2021, those people were saying, we all know she never hurt anybody. She's weird inside. You're weird inside, you weirdo. Some idiots were in there. That mind reader said she's weird inside. Oh my Lord. Just ignore it. Take my drink and sit down. Guy walked by. They won't say anything to her in here. Ooh. He's like, I'll take care of it. Girls walked by after that. Some guy said we're never to say a word. They made everything up on her. Heard some of the sheriffs talking. They say she doesn't know what's going on. Some psychiatrist is having a bunch of people write up they see her acting crazy and sending it in. They said the FBI already got it out of him. He was even letting another girlfriend use her insurance for years. She probably don't know what's going on. Okay. What is a jail sentence for a psychiatrist or a doctor doing that? I hope they like life in general. For one thing, they couldn't be in it with Dave. That's healthcare fraud. Or health fraud. Medical malpractice. HIPAA. That's 30 right there. And it says right there in the law, if they did any communications with somebody electronic, it goes into wire fraud. That's another 20. Ooh. See how dumb these people are. And I don't have a psychiatrist. These people are textbook. Right between the eyes. Now, think about this. Have my medical records from 1986 to 2002 or some other ladies. They got it out of Dave. It was a girlfriend from before me. Letting her use my medical records. Well, my health insurance. Back then, you did not need to show ID. They took you for who you were. If you forgot your medical card, you could call them the information later. It's how people used to get away with identity theft. You never had to prove who you were. People would have surgeries on other people's insurance, and they get caught if the person died, need a blood transfusion, and they gave the person the wrong blood. Happened a lot. Was all over the news. Well, that's why you have to show ID now. We fought at first part of the medical fraud trying to dispute bills that weren't mine, left and right. And we were told that we couldn't prove it wasn't mine because you didn't have to show ID. And then Kay had, the secretary of Midwest Rubber, told Dave there was rumors of him cheating on me with a heavyset white round woman. And I confronted him about it, and he said, Karen, they're all lying on me. I'd never cheat on you. Why would I want a heavyset white round woman when I have you? And here it's him and his girlfriend. I was 18 and stupid. What's your problem? I'm always at work, besides with you. Well, we all know you don't work that overtime. Found out through an agent that was working the case, he got it out. It was even a girlfriend from before me. She had to marry me so she could have free insurance. He could give her money. It's that bad. It was purpose fraud from the beginning. And half my medical records are hers. Heard those sheriffs talking yesterday. We heard she doesn't know what's going on. Some psychiatrist is having people write up statements they see her acting crazy or insane. You can have 1 million people write it up. Still fraud. And then they couldn't have those statements. They can't include the public. My God, there's HIPAA violations, right to privacy. No psychiatrist could be having people do this. They couldn't be in it with these people. It's fraud. They lose their license. They go to jail about 30, 50 years. You arrested them too. Then think of the absurdity. Trying to tell somebody that they're diagnosed somebody with something that's not curable and they're fine. Go to jail for fraud. See, like they said, these people thought they could railroad her. They don't know one law. See, a real psychiatrist would know. They could not be in it with Dave. They couldn't talk to these people. They couldn't write up something like that. And they would already know that everything besides my muscles locking up was wrote up as fraud. And they'd be caught writing up fraud on somebody. Then half my medical records are Dave's girlfriend. You can't say somebody has something non-curable and they're fine. Trying to claim they have a deep brain injury. It's like saying I have level 2 brain tumors. Epilepsy, MS. I didn't have any of that. And I've never been found insane, and I was never in a state psychiatric hospital. I never had a competency hearing, and I don't have a guardian, and I'm not on disability. You know, these people over a year, maybe 2 years ago, we'll make sure she has nothing. We'll make sure she don't have a husband. She won't have a home. She won't have a car. We'll leave her with nothing. It's like, shut up, scary people. Oh, and I heard those sheriffs. They were trying to claim that she was faking. And the other one said, I've seen the MRI report. She's got degenerative joint disease. Found out with how bad and traumatic birth her mother, that's what goofed up her spine, which caused all that. She walks better when she concentrates. I've watched her for a while. I do walk better when I concentrate. You just always have to think of where you put your feet. And those people were trying to say she was faking Strange's lie from 2003 to cover up. Tim and Katie, you're entertaining a dead minister's lie? Like that sheriff said, I seen the MRI report. She's got degenerative joint disease. That's why her legs are crooked, and we found out the traumatic birth of how she was born and what happened to her and her mother, and that's what caused her legs to be pigeon-toed that led into the degenerative joint disease and everything else. Unreal. And then they said something about that agent. We thought that agent was only pretending to go along with this to get the drug dealers. We all thought that. Until he showed up at that courthouse with them trying to get the case thrown out. And that girl that was cackling in that restaurant, that they stole everything for her, that's his girlfriend, the one that is breaking that he has to pay her to date him. You're pathetic. Agent John, you had to pay that to date you. You betrayed your country for that? Well, later when I got home, there was a guy outside. Oh, my car stopped. Yelling out. Some drug lord found out about that girl cackling in that restaurant, that they stole all that money for her. They were never supposed to steal her money. That drug lord had that girl date him and date that agent so he'd throw the case out. So the drug dealers could be released and they would get tens of millions of dollars. Not for that girl to get a dime. That girl, that guy they call Henry Muffy, his daughter laughing in that restaurant, that she got all that money. Something like that wasn't supposed to get a dime. She was just to get him to throw the case out. So the drug dealers get released and they could sue for tens of millions of dollars each for false arrest under fraud. Oh. Okay. So we're going to leave that at that. I talked to my friend Walter, who used to work at the Starr County Prosecutor's Office. He said unless the FBI pays you, stands up for the case, takes care of the agent that's working with them, okay, the case could get thrown out for them defrauding you, okay. I Googled it, it can. It can, for him telling on me, for abusing me on the phone, okay, and then me getting hurt. I used to work in businesses. I do know a way for them to fix it legally. If the FBI would write up a statement that Karen Hall / Harkless is one of our informants, was willing to help work the case as an informant, to help get these people they hired to harm her and other people while they were here, with the knowledge that that agent does not have the authority to ask anybody to stay quiet. It is the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, and with the knowledge that she knows that she would be paid for working and compensated for any injuries occurred in this case. And she was willing to help us to get information as an informant working for us, knowing that she would be paid and compensated. It erases a fraud. And then the checks with it. That agent, they gave that girl to him, a drug lord, to date him, to get him to throw the case out. They yelled it outside my apartment. My car was blocked yesterday. That girl was never to get any of my money. He was just supposed to tell on me, lay me on the phone. He was not supposed to pay me. She was never to get a dime. We got to think, for that drug lord to give her to him, she's a paid prostitute. That's why he's paying her to date him. She was never to get a dime. And some drug lords are mad. My God. But whatever sheriff or officers listening, they need to write up a statement that, see, them destroying me. If they destroy me, then I couldn't be as somebody who is competent enough to sign a paper of that. But I am competent. These people are textbook Looney Tune. You know, like I said, it's right on Google. Mental illness and mental insanity is not curable. You can't say somebody has a mental disorder and they're fine. They lose their license for fraud. And any doctor stupid enough trying to pull a fraud scheme on somebody is looking at a long time in jail. But these people are so crazy. My community health last year said, I want to read a note before you leave. It said some office hired a psychiatrist on her own to evaluate her. No one's allowed to say a word because an office did it. That is a fraud letter. I don't know what office did it. What psychiatrist? Okay. I don't know what office. I don't know what psychiatrist. I never met with them. Never signed consent for them to evaluate me. Was never evaluated. Nor did I sign a release for them to send it out. It's called fraud. It's like 30 years for that letter. Get the idea? That's where they were laughing. Oh, they paid off a doctor to write up stuff like that before we go to jail. And everything but my muscles locked up from 2002 from my surgeries, a couple years before that, it's all wrote up as fraud. Then all the stuff that his crazy girlfriend at the time using my health care insurance, hard telling what she was diagnosed with. You can tell he picks out real winners. But it's just fraud. You can't write up something like that. Now, and the FBI already got it out of date, March 27, 25. It was a girlfriend from before me. Made him marry me to get a job at my dad's factory so she'd have free insurance. See, that's what those sheriffs were saying yesterday. The FBI already got it out of her ex-husband. He was letting a girlfriend of hers use his insurance for years. 15. $15. Half my medical records are hers. But she still never stayed in a state psychiatric hospital. They never got a hold of the courts. She never had a competency hearing because I was never notified. I even had to shut down my credit a couple times because I was getting things opened in my name that weren't mine. I had to freeze my credit for a while. Stupid bitch. But we're going to put it that way. But where I was researching, and by the way, I talked to an attorney. It does take this day in the state psychiatric hospital. They get a hold of court. You have a right to an attorney to represent you. And it takes a judge, not a dirty doctor, writing up fraud. Like people said, they thought they could railroad her. They thought they could pull a fast one. It's because they're stupid and ignorant. 1867 mandatory. Competency hearing. Can't just write up fraud. And see, that's where they were trying to discredit me. So I couldn't sign a paper stating that I was willing to go through this. And knowing my rights, and the knowledge of my rights of the First Amendment, freedom of speech, that agent didn't have the authority to say those things. And knowing that I would be paid, and knowing that I would be compensated for injuries by helping the FBI be an informant, getting them information. See, that takes me out of being victimized and defrauded into a legitimate case. All the drug dealers say. I did research. They just need that letter, have me sign it, the check's in hand, copy of it with the file, and the thing is sealed. But these people just run around thinking that they can pay anybody off to write up fraud. You can't. And you can have a doctor make a false claim that isn't true. And then half my medical records are Dave's girlfriend. You know, he picks out winners. You never have to dispute fraud. People like that cannot support themselves. They cannot pay their bills. They can't hold down full-time jobs. They can barely function in a day program. That's why they have guardians, social workers, placed on disability. These people thought they were smart asses and they could just blah, 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 blah. They can't. I don't have a psychiatrist. And you people are textbook. See, that's where those sheriffs yesterday said, I found out that Melissa's kids were taped saying that they made everything up. They were games of pretend. Well, I must be new to the case. It ain't 18. And let's see, my son John was taped saying that nobody could say anything bad about me. Asking me to be a reliable name on a court record to watch his kids after school. I couldn't help him because I was working 2 jobs. And he told a lot of electricians, hundreds if not thousands, that I had never hurt anyone. And because of these people, he may not ever see me again. And that I had never hurt anyone. Totally defending me. And these people what? They have them taped that they drugged me and told me to say it before? Photoshop that shower scene in the other room? It was drug dealers doing it? They made everything up on me? That the doctor from before was not one of mine, works for them, and they had lied? The whole thing was a scam to extort money from the government, and that guy Pete Dave hired on his own, I don't even know who he is, and that they used hypnotic drugs on me when they drugged me and told me to say it before, and the tape of Weird With Yourself is photoshopped of washing in the shower. And the whole thing was a scam to extort money from the government. They also have Danny and Jen tape that they didn't know about buying cameras. And they didn't know of any tape of Weird With Yourself. They also have Melissa taped friends with that dingbat. Cackly. And that they wanted the house for Papa and Auntie Shell, and they were making everything up. They were games of pretend the sick shit. And John totally defending me. Like they said down in Magnolia, where they said years ago, John was running around telling everyone that she had never hurt anyone. It's just these people. To these people, having somebody impersonate my son John, somebody impersonating my mother, that they photoshopped everything and photoshopped all the lies, made everything up on me. That's just a scam. And like that guy was yelling, some drug lord had that girl date that agent, so he threw the case. Not for her to get a dime out of this. That Henry Maffey's kid, something like that was never to get a dime. It was for the drug dealers to be released, for the drug dealers to sue for tens of millions of dollars. And like Walter said, they can. If they don't fix it, it will get brought up as fraud. They were defrauding you the whole time. That's where the statement signed. A willing informant with a knowing and having the knowledge of my rights, of the First Amendment freedom of speech, that agent wouldn't have the authority to ask me to stay quiet. And that I would be paid for working this case and compensated for injuries. Because if you have the knowledge that you're going to be paid, you have the knowledge he can't say that. And you're willing to help them. It takes you from being a victim to a legal informant. And the case is sealed. Once I'm paid and I sign a statement like that. But it's going to take that. Like Walter said, they better move swiftly. They got to pay you or they'll get thrown out. And all those drug dealers will walk, and they can sue for tens of millions of dollars. They have to pay you, Karen. Well, you need me to sign a statement, too, that I had the knowledge and understanding of the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, that agent didn't have the authority to even say that. And that I would be paid. And knowing that I would be paid. That he was only bullying me. And would be compensated for my injuries. And was willing to help the FBI as an informant to get information on the people they hired to harm me and others while they were here. They have me sign that. That locks the case. That I knew he didn't have the authority. He was only bullying me. It's a freedom of speech. I know my rights. I knew I'd get paid. And then they pay me. If I know I'm going to get paid, I know my rights. And I know he was only bullying me. And I knew they would compensate me for injuries, and I was willing to help them. It takes me from being victimized to hired informant. It removes the defraud. They can write it up. Officer John can bring it over. I can sign it, and with the checks, and they can have a copy of it, and then the case is sealed. These people open their mouth about any medical information on me. Do you know it is a federal crime if a doctor looks up someone's medical records without signed consent majority? It's a 10-year sentence. It's still stealing documents. They try to open their mouth about me, you put them in jail. These are federal crimes. Do you know what happens when an officer looks up somebody that they're not working a case on? They can go to jail for like 10 years. It's a right of privacy. They don't have a right to look you up unless they're working a case on you. Neither does the doctor. You have a right to privacy over your medical records. They can't access anybody else's medical records, nor can they release them, nor can they be hired by somebody else to look up somebody else's records. These crimes they've committed, run around telling people they have the rights to do this. They don't have a right one. They're crazy. They're psychos. And when the FBI looks at them, and I've been uploading law by law by law. What is a jail sentence? What is a jail sentence? What is a jail sentence? How's that federal crimes? They can't have any knowledge of my medical records. They can't have my medical records. They can't have one of my doctors talk about me. They can't have one from before talking to any of them. See what I mean? These are all federal crimes. And they can't have somebody I've never met, never talked to, write up fraud either. See, this is Twilight Zone crazy crap. They say anything, arrest them. I can find the laws, everything they say they do. What is a jail sentence? Federal crimes. They can't know one thing about my medical records. Not one thing. I'm going to go ahead and upload this.